hiking trails in the woods, but snow's so deep. Yeah.
Did you see?
Oh,
You and I have been
We're
discussing
on.
revisions for the.
Okay, okay,
Garrett, I have Paul Stutzman in the waiting room.
okay.
Are you ready for me to admit him?
You can
He wants
admit,
to attend your meeting.
yes, he can,
Yes.
he
Who
can
is
come in. Paul Stutzman,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Okay,
All right, can I start?
Wait. Where is
Can you
he?
see anyone? Okay,
Oh, he's there.
okay. I must have- Stutzman's in Michigan.
I'd
Recording.
like me to start by telling you what we're gonna do for a town meeting.
Yes.
Yes,
Right.
please.
Okay,
So on Friday, we sent out a notice to please try to use absentee ballots.
Mhm.
We are going to have the polls are going to be open
Mhm.
from 11 to 5 tomorrow at Town Square.
Mhm.
At 6 p.m., we are going to have the moderator and the selectmen go to the school.
mhm,
They're going to open the meeting and then they're going to immediately adjourn it to Wednesday
okay.
at 5 p.m.
Mhm.
at the school. Okay? That way we can let the storm get through
Okay.
and then we can have the meeting on Wednesday. We're gonna start at 5. Excuse me. We're gonna start at 5 o'clock. We're gonna we are going to schedule to get through everything on Wednesday.
I was gonna ask, are you going to
So
be?
just one day, start at 5
Okay.
on Wednesday.
Okay.
We're gonna announce that at the school meeting tonight.
Yeah.
And the community meeting tomorrow, and before the end of the day today, we will post it on all the websites and
Okay,
social media, etc.
Okay,
thank you.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so welcome to another special meeting of the Conservation Commission of Waterville Valley. We're here to hopefully finalize our support of Article 7. And roll call.
Rebecca Hastings. Member. Cindy Pecos, alternate. You see
We'll
me
see.
after.
Okay. Garrett Levy, Chair.
John Racine, member.
Charles Hastings, member.
Thank you. And hello to you, Paul.
You need to see. Amy.
Hi, hi, Eric.
Before you speak, we have to do a few things here. I'd like to seat Cindy Pecos,
As a
since
member.
Jen Lucas is
Okay.
absent today. Can we seat you as a member today?
It's not for me to say.
Yes, like that.
Hi, Paul.
All right. Done. All right, so
Paul's wife Terry joined us.
Oh,
do we have privilege of the floor first and then continue the meeting?
You can do
We
that.
don't have an agenda.
The other parts.
Okay, Paul, we're ready to hear your comments.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for having me and thanks for your service. I think the Conservation Commission is very important and hopefully someday I'll join. Terry, I don't know what just happened, but you just took up my whole screen.
I just joined the call. I'll turn my camera off.
Okay, thank you. Oh, it just says Terry. Okay. Anyways, that's better. Thanks, Terry. So, I think you just started this meeting with saying that you want to finalize your support for the article. Sounds like it's maybe already a done deal. But I'd like to share my experience and maybe give you a different point of view that maybe you haven't that hasn't been presented. Back in 2019, that piece of land was for sale and not a lot of interest at all. And I actually put an offer on it similar to it was about 200,000, 215,000. The offer was accepted and we got non-disclosure, or excuse me, the disclosure form for a purchase like that. And one of the items said landfill, and it was checked off, and down the bottom it said, you know, there's a prior landfill, which is great. The Waterville Company operated a landfill there for a number of years. So I had my attorneys. I worked with McLean, it's the largest law firm in New Hampshire, and they consulted with ZBA Environmental, who the town has done business with in the past. And I had them to do what we call due diligence on the purchase. So I wanted to find out as much as possible about this piece of land that I was about to buy. And we ran into a lot of roadblocks. The consultants told us the best thing to do is to test the soil. The water tests don't test for asbestos and things that go into the air, and doesn't test for all the contaminants and carcinogens that could be in there. So we asked the Waterville Company at the time, the owner, if we could please test. We even said we would pay for the testing. And no, don't want it. So that was a pretty big red flag. So we did some research, and we went to the Department of Environmental Services down in Concord, and they did some research, and they pulled a card that's for the landfill, and it said the permit was pulled by the town of Waterville Valley, which is kind of odd because the deed was owned by the Waterville Company. So there's two separate entities there. So we did some further research, and Mr. Dakota's comment to my attorney, and we have it, was the lines are blurred between the town of Waterville Valley and the Waterville Company as you go back in time. Don't really know what that means, but we did not want to move forward with taking the deed of the land. So what we proposed is that I would buy the land and donate it 100% no cost to the town of Waterville. No, that was another roadblock. Town didn't want to do that. So we ended up getting our deposit back, and we did not go forward with the purchase. I think this is important information. Also, the cleanup, we could not find that it was capped or mitigated in any way, the landfill, which is required by the Department of Environmental Services. And now, if you were to do that, you'd have to clear trees and mitigate the soil. Like they pour something on top of it, it's capping it. So it would be a lot more expensive now. Also, there was another party that was going to or considered buying it, and they contacted me. It was some homeowners in Osceola condominiums, and they were a bunch of lawyers, and they thought they had like triple indemnity. They were putting shields in front of it so that if they purchased it with charities, and they wouldn't be liable for the cleanup if it happens. I believe that did not go forward. That fell through as well. So there is some concern for this property. Now, what I'd like to see happen as stewards of the environment here, just simply test the soil. I mean, it can't be that expensive. And if it is, it's a lot less expensive than the cleanup, that's for sure. We got a quote of just a few $1,000s to do a level 2 testing. They'd have to dig a couple of test pits and send some soil to the labs. But yeah, I think, if we're going to buy it, which I wanted to buy it, I think it's a great opportunity, but we need to know what we're getting into. And a contingency on testing the soil would be really important, I think. Some of the issues or concerns that ZBA Environmental brought up is, with climate change, our storms are more intense. We get another Irene, the soil shifts and stuff starts rolling into the river. I mean, it's an awful place to have a landfill. I think you all agree. But we still can't find any mitigation or capped of the landfill. Waterville Company just did not do the right thing as far as I know. Maybe you did some due diligence. I hope so. Or the town did before they purchase this. But maybe there's something that I don't know. I understand it was closed at one time, like in 2012. But what does that mean? Was it just you can't dump there anymore? Is there any documentation that supports that it was closed? And what does that mean? Is it not contaminated? I don't know. We even looked for the records that when you mitigate and cap a landfill, you're supposed to send in soil samples every year. We couldn't find any record of that either. So there's a lot of unknowns here. And if we do go forward, we should definitely test the soil, is my opinion.
Okay, thank you for your history, the background, and your concerns. And I want you to know that several of us have chatted about it, and we feel that the concerns about the soil tests are legitimate, and we would like to discuss how we can incorporate that into either as an amendment to the article. We can say, for example, the Conservation Commission is in favor of the purchase as long as there is soil testing. Somehow this concern should be stipulated in terms of the agreement. So the soil testing is a key issue, even though our ecosystems management consultant, Rick Vanderpool, said the water testing is critical, but it's not totally there. It's not enough. We need to do soil testing.
Well, I'm in agreement with that, Eric. Thank you.
Okay. So the other reason for us to support the town purchasing of the land with that clause is that we've heard from other people, if a private owner purchases it, he may want to fence it in and block public access to it. And that would be a tremendous loss to the town because many, many people use those trails.
Including me. We've seen each other there.
Yes, yes.
I live across the street, everybody from the property. So my wife and I live at 60 Osceola Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. Again, there wasn't a lot of interest. I mean, it's zoned recreational and it's in the disclosure that it is a landfill. So, a lot of people are scared away about that. I don't think time is of the essence, but yeah, I use the land. I love it. I think that if the town could buy it under the right circumstances, let's know what we're getting into first and test the soil. So that's great that you guys are on the same page there.
Open up to discussion.
I have a question about the definition of landfill. Maybe Mark can answer this, but on David Britton's comments, he talked about that area being covered over with gravel. Some other things I've heard people say that the land, it was just a dump, a burn dump, where people took things and burned it. So was this a registered landfill similar to the landfill in Bethlehem or
No.
Ashland? I mean,
No.
I didn't think so.
Oh, can I tell you what I know? There is a card at the DES that says it is a landfill. We have pictures from 1972 that you just dump your back of your car up and just dump the stuff in. It all started with the Bean Hotel where they would dump all their stuff in there. Yeah, it was a carpet dump. And further, which was what the nickname for a while. Furthermore, a company or an organization called the North American Mountain Bike Association put in single track trails there back in like 2016. And when they put those in there, they dug up plates and pieces of metal some pottery, some, other debris. And on a summer's day, if you walk through on those new single track trails, you will see debris.
I have a question as well.
I'd like Mark to finish what he was going to tell me.
Well, can I
Don't see
add-
Mark, I'm sorry.
Mark has his full, hold your thought.
No, I had another question that Mark can answer as well.
Okay,
And that is that David's statement that we received indicated the landfill he thought was used between 1965 to 1969. I would like some clarification if
Yeah,
anyone
me too.
knows.
When did they stop dumping?
The town never operated a landfill.
Mhm.
Okay,
It
was
is correct what Mr. Stutzman said. That there are two pieces of paper at the DES. Two forms or whatever reports that you can go on the DES website. And you can search under the landfill list that they have there.
Mhm.
But there's no permit number. There are no permit records. I've looked at the file at the DES, the physical file of paperwork. There were no inspections ever by the DES. There's nothing in the town files that indicate that this was an operating landfill under any regulation of the DES. The 2012 date
Mhm.
that Mr. Sutzman talked about was not. The state didn't do an inspection of our site in 2012. That, when we talked about 2012. We were talking in terms of an article that was published where DES said.
Mhm.
That all landfills in the state, when the Farmington landfill was capped. In 2012, that concluded the capping of all the old dumps, landfills, whatever they were termed. And that DES was done doing that. So, and that's not the same as Bethlehem.
right,
We're talking
that's
about
what I,
Dumps where
right.
people actually
right,
put material.
Yeah.
right.
So. The town of Waterville Valley has never been told by the state that you operated this
That
landfill,
Mhm.
you must cap it, you must close it, you must have the plan for he's absolutely right that, you're supposed to report every year. There's supposed to be gas recovery systems
Mhm.
and it's a very complicated process that you have to go through, very expensive.
Mhm.
No indication of any of that.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, it may have been a dump area back in the
Right,
20s and
Right.
30s.
right.
I mean, we have no idea. There's no records in anybody's files that I've seen to date.
Okay.
That says. That, in fact, there's no layout. There is the picture that the Stutzmans have. Provided to us,
Uh-huh.
but it doesn't,
Yeah.
it's not a plan, like, these are the limits
Mhm.
of the.
Right.
Of the landfill, nothing like that.
Right.
So. I mean, DES would have to come back and say, close this. And then they would have to provide us with something that we've just never seen to
Yeah.
date.
Okay, so
So,
in order for us to allay people's fears and concerns, we would like some wording in either the warrant article or in terms of your agreement to add soil testing. It doesn't matter that it was authorized, a landfill,
Yeah, no,
authorized or not authorized landfill, dump site.
we,
We want to know that the soil is fine
Can we
and clear.
discuss that first?
Sure. That's,
Okay, I would like to be convinced. It may be a good idea, but I don't think we've discussed it enough, whether or not. We should link our support.
Mhm.
If there is support, we don't know that yet because it's been over a week since we last discussed.
Mhm.
Whether or not this commission actually supports this warrant article or not. We shouldn't assume it. But we need to decide, do we think that some kind of soil testing that someone would come in and do, is that a necessary and useful thing? Maybe. What my guess, and again, what I know about this is just what I've been hearing and reading in the last couple of weeks. I certainly don't have any authority on it. But my guess is that this was indeed used as a place to just dump stuff for a while. People throughout the country have been dumping stuff behind their house,
Right.
behind the barn, without declaring it. There just were not proper ways to collect and dispose of garbage
Mhm.
until fairly recently. So I would not be at all surprised if this was used as just a occasional dumping ground for a long, long time. But we don't really have any, and we're not likely to ever find any records on that, because people didn't record that kind of thing.
Right.
Now, what we'd like to know is what kinds of things are getting dumped, over how large an area, how thick a deposit is it? These are all things that to me would be relevant. And my guess is that since this was not a managed landfill, things were not getting spread around and evened out by graders like they do today in garbage
Right.
dumps. And so, yes, we could decide that soil testing would be good. You or someone mentioned maybe just a couple test pits.
Mhm.
To me, and speaking as an archaeologist who deals with dumps going back tens of thousands of years, that kind of testing is just to cover our asses. Because you're not really going to learn anything significant unless you just happen to hit upon one spot where they had been dumping motor oil or something. The chances are that is really not going to be informative about just how pure and clean those soil layers are below the gravel cover. So we or someone could pay whatever it costs to have some firm come in and do some test bits. And they would likely run across a thin layer of some kind of debris, probably largely plates. What shows up most of all in 20th century dumps is tin cans and glass, and they could find some of that. Maybe they would find asbestos if we have reason to think that this was being used as an asbestos dump of some kind. But my guess is that those tests probably wouldn't find anything toxic enough to kill the sale. But what those tests would do, if that's what we're trying to do, is provide some legal protection for whichever entity is responsible. And we're getting different views on who might be held liable, so that they could at least say, well, we went through the motion, we did soil testing. I think it's just putting down the drain just to cover yourself. It's my suspicion, because it doesn't really confirm whether or not there are any dangerous deposits in that, whatever it is, 1 or 2 acres where the dump was.
And I think the additional issue with that, Charles, and I agree with your assessment that it's really not going to tell us anything unless we have an extensive study over the entire 13 acres to the tune of tens of thousands, maybe even $100,000 worth of testing. And I don't say that to scare anyone. I just think that if you're going to get a real picture of what's in there, you're going to have a plan. You're going to have to, you're going to have to take many samples across that entire area if you want to be absolutely sure, right? Then you have the issue that if we do hit that one spot where there was, somebody took a pan of motor oil and just dumped it on the ground in 1960 or whatever, and you hit that and you get a contaminant, you have to report that. And now you have opened the gate to have to deal with even more and more as you go along. Then you could be forced into testing even more. Who knows? I think that if the operator and or owner is responsible for the closure of the landfill, then if there's any future liability that the town of Waterville Valley, whether we purchase it now or whether we
Right.
don't, we're going to have,
Yeah.
we're going to have
We're
some
still
liability
liable.
because our name is on a piece of paper
right.
or in an electronic form at the state, okay? Whether or not we have 100% of the liability or 50% of it, we're gonna be liable if it ever comes to that in some form, because it says operator town of Waterville Valley. When
So-
in 2012, when I talked about it being unclear, the line between the Waterville company and the town back in the 70s and 80s and even the early 90s, the non-clarity was the fact that the same people who were in charge of the Waterville company and the resort
We're here.
were also running the
Oh,
town at
yeah.
the same time. It was complete town. I mean,
Yeah.
they were linked together and every
Yes.
decision,
That's
whether it was for the resort or for the town,
Mhm.
was kind of made at the same
I
time.
see.
So, it's easy for me to see how a form was filled out and saying town of Waterville Valley and the Waterville company.
Yeah.
We never owned the town never owned any land
Right.
over there.
Right.
Look through the deeds, there is nothing other than the library on West Branch Road for town of Waterville Valley.
Correct.
Yet there's a form there that says there was a dump or a landfill
Yeah.
on West Branch Road
Yeah.
that belonged, quote unquote, to the town of Waterville
Helter
Valley.
skelter.
How could it? We didn't own the land,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, Paul, about it not. being-
Yeah, I understand. Mr. Corcoran was on the board and he developed the land. But it is under my understanding, and I got this from some contractors, that it was the place you dump your construction debris. And when they developed the Waterville Valley and when putting in condos, that was where you dump your debris. And I think to the point of all those test sites would have to test the whole area. The photograph I sent over, I mean, it was from 1972, and you could kind of see where they did a bulldozer, but you can actually, for short money, we can buy some more aerial photographs from that whole area and see a lot more and get more information about where the dumping actually happened. But yeah, it was known as the carpet dump, and people would dump carpets in there and construction debris. Yeah, so.
Okay. Okay.
So I think there are two questions that we are commingling here. It is a question of the liability and whether or not there's contamination of the area. And then there is the question about whether the town wants to purchase the land. The wording in the article,
Mhm.
you are not purchasing, the town meeting is not purchasing the land. The town meeting is authorizing an appropriation for an amount of money up to $227,200 for the Board of Selectmen to complete the process of purchasing the land. So there still has to be public hearings, there still has to be a continuation and a completion of the negotiation with David, right?
Right.
About purchase price, and we do not have a contingency P&S with him, right? We have not even gotten to that point yet. Every P&S that I've ever seen has something to check off about landfills and potential contaminant,
Hazardous.
hazardous
Yeah.
waste, all of that. That would all be, I'm assuming,
Okay.
in a purchase and
It should
sale
be.
agreement.
Mhm.
So the questions are legitimate questions, but they're not
Okay,
completed yet.
right.
Mhm.
So so the question is whether or not you want the selectmen to keep going down that
Mhm.
path and come to an agreement with David and an amount of money that you're gonna authorize them to spend to do that. Okay? The other part of that is when they get the contingent PNS and they are ready, everything is signed with David, there has to be a public hearing, right, under state law. And the selectmen cannot close on that property until they've held that public hearing.
Okay,
That's what the language in there that says to do the other, take the other legal, what does it say here? You got it right there. It's at the bottom of the warrant article,
okay.
to take all other.
To take any other action necessary to carry out this vote or to pass any other vote relative thereto.
Right, so their next vote would be
Mhm.
to close on the PNS.
Mhm.
They have to hold a public hearing
Okay.
before they can do that.
So,
So there's going to be an explanation to the town. Here's what happened, here's
all right.
the steps,
Right.
and
So the,
here's what
right.
here's where we are with the purchase price. They're gonna report out all of that to the town.
Mark, are you going to explain when that article is read? What you just said
Yeah.
right now, so that
This
there's
is-
clarity?
this is not
Yeah.
final. This is just
The
next step.
Clarity.
And I
That's
think
right.
the board tried
Yeah.
to say that at the budget and bond hearing.
Yeah.
And we tried to say it at the selectmen's
Okay.
meeting last Wednesday. We'll try to get that point across.
Yeah.
It
That
needs,
This is
yeah.
not the
I agree.
the
Not
be all
final.
end all of it. It's
Right.
just the authority to continue.
Continue.
Yeah,
But you are authorizing to spend up to that amount of money.
but with a public hearing.
Yeah.
Right.
To authorize that sale.
right.
Right. But
So it's
remember, the
still not-
public hearing is not a public vote. The public hearing is, it's
Uh-huh.
still going to be just the three of them that would ultimately vote to complete the transaction,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So when they hold a public hearing, it's to hear your concerns, your comments on what the
Mhm.
final arrangements
Mhm, mhm.
are, but it is not a vote like
Right.
town meeting.
Okay,
This is the vote. One other thing, you can't increase the amount of the money in that warrant article, you can decrease it.
Reduce it.
I will check with town council about adding other requirements to it.
mhm.
Because the
Yeah.
wording is very specific in state law about an authority to. Just to bond money, so I would not want to see an amendment which disqualifies that from
Mm.
being a legal
Mhm.
Mhm.
art. A legal warrant article.
Can I ask Paul a question?
Yes,
Paul,
please. Yes.
the aerial photography that you said you had pictures of where the dump is, and you said we could go ahead and take larger pictures. How definitive does it point out that is specifically where it was?
Well, I sent the pictures in last week. Hopefully you maybe saw them. I sent them to Steve Royer. Um,
Go ahead.
it's fairly vague is when you buy these photos, they give you like a thumbprint, they call it, and it's almost like a teaser to go buy the rest of them. And so the one that I have isn't that definitive. I suspect that if we spend a few dollars and get the rest of them, we would learn more.
Mhm.
So what I just heard from Mr. Dakota was that this will be, if it passes in the election tomorrow, then the article, then it'll be in the hands of the select board to decide one way or the other. Is that,
But Paul, he will still have a public hearing in front of the selectmen that we can come in and still
Mhm.
put our vote, our opinions
Mhm.
to either sway or nay
Mhm.
the
Well,
select board.
The the thing is, there will be a definitive agreement, there will be a conditional purchase and sale. So you will know the terms of the sale when that public hearing happens, right?
Yeah, that's fine. I still think some language for a soil test is in order.
That's how,
And even before it gets to the, on the warrant as it is today, because, all the arguments will, will be responsible for one way or the other, trying to sway the selectmen, where this is the opportunity for the residents of the town to have some input on how it's going to proceed.
I think that's just
Have you talked with David with regards to soil testing? Has it been mentioned to him?
Well, obviously, yes.
Yeah, okay.
He was gonna do it, but he didn't want to spend what he said, $7,000.
Hope he wants to sell the land.
I agree.
And may I
I-
address the commission? This is Terry Stutzman.
hi,
Hello,
Terry.
Carrie.
Hi, I appreciate you taking the time here and that your focus is on the environmental concerns. There's a super fun CERCLA overview I was reviewing that was brought to my attention. Comprehensive Environmental Response Compensation Liability Act of 1980. So, I mean, we all agree we want this land to stay public. I use it every day. My dog walker just got off of it. So I appreciate the concept of keeping this land open to everyone in the town. At the same time, it's really not worth the risk of not doing all of our due diligence, including the environmental testing, the soil testing, and also a closer look by a qualified, experienced environmental attorney to really help us understand as a town what we're getting into. We're doing a little, in my opinion, a little bit of panic buying because of all the development we've seen around town. And yes, post-COVID, this land might be more attractive. It was really attractive to us until we learned a little bit too much. So, part of this discussion has to be having a qualified, experienced environmental attorney to really look at all of the issues that opens up liability to the town before we rush into it. Interest rates have gone up quite a bit recently, and they will go up more. This is not a super commercially viable piece of property because of the floodplain. Flood insurance is very expensive. We just left a Seacoast community, so we were quite aware of how expensive it is. And there really wasn't a lot that we could do with it commercially when we were looking at all the options. It would be great if it stayed open just as it is, but not at the cost of opening ourselves to a major financial hit, where at least 50% of that liability is really in the hands of the current deed owner. So I just highly encourage the commission, before you endorse this warrant article, to perhaps table it till the next town meeting, till we can have a really better look legally at what our obligations would be and what all the mitigating factors are. I was very disappointed we didn't go through with this purchase. I'd love to have that land open forever, but I'd rather walk around through high country than open up that can of worms to every citizen in town, for the potential environmental cleanup.
May I say something? This might be very naive, but to me, this warrant article is just allowing us to do exactly what you would like us to do with testing soil. If we don't give the town or the select board a chance to say we would like to purchase this property, then we will follow through on these things. But if they don't, my understanding is if this warrant article doesn't pass, then we don't get that chance again.
Well, this is personal opinion, and it's, based on current economic factors. I find it hard to believe legislatively that you can't do this again in a year. It just seems like we're in a rush to buy this property so it doesn't go into private hands and get spent. I get it every day. I really am. But let's not be in a rush and make a bad decision. If legislatively, can we not have this warrant article in a year after we've had the opportunity?
Sold.
Not if it's
Not if it's sold. Terry may want to sell it.
Yeah.
Not Terry,
David,
sorry,
yeah.
David.
David
may-
may, of course, I understand that, but really, how many developers do you know with two
Yeah,
hundred
wait,
There's
it's
a-
recreationally zoned right now too.
Yeah.
recreation? So there's not a lot of buyers for this property.
So that's
Um,
correct.
I agree with all that, but I do think that the town has some leverage and probably the DES has some leverage. Before any development can go in there, we should demand that the soil is tested.
Do you have something to add?
I
Oh,
do. So, hi Terry and Paul, John Racine here.
Hi, John.
I would like for everybody to understand what could be put there. So I'm gonna read some of the zoning information that is allowed. They are alpine ski lift, trails, hiking, Nordic ski, bicycle trails, a golf course, parks, playgrounds,
Skeet, shoot.
playing fields,
a golf
skating rinks and tennis courts, sports faculties,
facility.
a golf clubhouse and pro shop, theaters, recreational centers, swimming pools and water parks, all agricultural uses except for raising and keeping of animals as an agricultural use. And I think there's some other items in here, but I just think that everybody should understand that those are some of the uses that are allowed in a recreational area, and if someone else buys this land, they could potentially do this. Put one of these items in, or many of them in.
Paul, think about if somebody came in with a riding stable that we used to have up at the end of town.
Yep, down by the finish line. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, I think,
And what are
I
they
looked
going
at all
to do
those.
for the Waste of the horses, and horse manure turns into gases and compost, you know? Well,
Yeah.
dogs don't go as frequently and in such a small
I
mill.
know, I know, I thought about that. When I first looked at the land, I talked to my builder and he said, oh yeah, the hotel used to throw all their horses in there. When they died or whatever. But, I was thinking that it would be a great place to have more gardens, like, vegetable gardens. When I was gonna buy it, I was gonna try to, have gardens in there for people, sort of like the Ray Center. But then I'm like, what's in the soil? I don't know if I want to be eating plants that are coming out of there. Yeah, so I don't think like a skating rink is gonna go in there, or a movie theater, but
Well,
Yeah. So thank you, Paul. So we're back to soil testing. And we understand that we want the town, we prefer the town to own it, not a private individual who can build a golf clubhouse.
yeah,
But you'd be disturbing the soil, you building something that's allowable right now. So bottom line, if we are in favor of the town purchasing these 13 acres, can we please stipulate that we want the soil tested somehow?
That's my question.
Okay,
And maybe Mark can answer it. I would think the only thing that we as a commission can do at this meeting, Wednesday, I guess it will be, is to indicate whether or not we as a commission recommend or do not support this warrant article. I don't think we have the power to change the wording of
Well,
the article.
in most warrant articles, you would be able to do that. What I'm gonna check is with bond counsel, right, which is the
Yeah.
attorney that has to say
right.
that we followed the correct procedure so
Mhm.
that we can sell the bond, right, on, or take the loan
Okay.
out. We'll just make sure that you can make an amendment
Okay,
to that effect in the warrant article.
okay,
And then you would just propose, I think that we should limit this, we should put these words into
Yeah.
the warrant article.
okay.
And we can figure that out during the deliberative session.
Okay, good.
The other
Yeah.
thing I'm concerned about is that David has put on Facebook that he really wants the town to buy this. I would like to see that, if possible, if he would be willing to, in negotiation for the property, find out what the cost would be for testing and back out that cost out of the purchase price, so it's not coming out of the town's pocket.
But that's, yes, that is the selectmen's purview,
Okay.
not a town meeting.
Okay,
I mean, but
That's-
yeah, you,
that's good.
everybody has said that. I don't think that the selectmen in their right mind would go forward unless there's something that happens there as far as answering these questions
Okay.
about.
All right.
This
So-
is what, this is what
But it's
every,
up to the board. It's
this is
not-
what the voters need to hear, Mark, what you just said. Nobody knows this.
Yeah.
Riding up the
That's-
ski lifts, wait,
Yep.
riding up the ski lifts, talking to people, and I talk to a lot of people in Silver Streets, they don't know that. They don't
They
know,
I'll make sure that the board.
they
says
don't
it.
know that this town is liable. They don't know whether someone buys it or not. And they,
Well, I'm
my,
not saying, I'm saying that the same possibility of liability exists
Mhm.
whether we buy it or.
Or not.
it
Right.
does, but they don't know that we would have more control if we bought the land over
Mhm.
what goes there.
Yes.
As opposed to some contractor buying it and putting in one of these uses that are already allowed.
And quite frankly, we have not engaged in environmental
Mhm.
attorney at this point in time to be able to say definitively, we have to take steps A through F
Mhm.
before we can
Yeah.
move forward with this. I don't know what that would require.
Okay,
We may get a legal opinion to not take steps. I don't know. We would have to have those conversations.
so, yeah,
Could you elaborate a little more than what you've said on what our one expert, Rick Vanderpool,
Yeah.
has said? You contacted him about
Yes.
this, and what feedback more specifically did he give you?
again, he said a couple of
Wait,
things.
can you explain who Rick is for the people?
Rick Vanderpool is the ecosystems management consultant that the town has used for several years. He's an excellent scientist. He knows our town. And we're currently working on a different project with him, so we are in communication with him all the time. I told him briefly what we were going through right now. And he said, water testing is critical, and Mark has talked about the water testing, and
Yes, ma'am.
everything has been fine.
Fine.
If there was sufficient testing. I don't know what kinds of tests we had, so there's that. The water has been tested safe for drinking. And we know that either way, the town's cost for cleanup, if necessary, it's on our dime, so.
Dylan was down there testing, if I'm not mistaken,
He said
in that
that
little
meeting.
area on the
Yeah.
beach that has some
Right.
iron in the
Yeah, the
soil.
iron is,
So he did test all.
I
of
have
our-
those test results if you want to see them.
Right.
Yeah, but that, the point I'm trying to make is the town, which Dylan was involved with, did test that water and it was
He does test it.
decent.
And
right, but the soil isn't disturbed when we do water testing. If someone buys this and builds a golf clubhouse, the soil will be disturbed. Once the soil is disturbed, who knows what's going on? All we want is assurance that the soil is clear. That's also, we're going back and forth on this. We want a stipulation of some sort, whether it's an amendment to number 7, to Article 7.
Yeah.
Or in the PNS, we want assurance that there will be soil testing so that we can breathe more easily.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, and the warrant, doesn't this warrant article just give the town
Yes.
permission
That's
to investigate?
Yes.
Right. But we're also talking about,
Permission to
Right.
investigate. They may
What-
investigate this and decide, well, no, we can't go through with this or whatever.
If David were to say, no, I won't put that into the
Mhm.
PNS,
Mhm.
the
it's over.
select board can walk away from
Away
the
from
PNS.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
Definitely.
there's,
Okay, anything.
this conversation over the last 2-3 weeks has been great for the selectmen. They know what your
Mhm.
concerns are. Again, they're not dumb people. They know what needs to be in the PNS.
Okay,
And I don't think that any of them.
Our biggest problem is for the voters, for the lack of knowledge
Yeah.
about this.
Agreed.
That's the biggest problem.
There is a misconception that you are finalizing
Saying a
the sale,
purchase,
Yeah.
yes,
and you're not.
yeah.
yeah,
You're just authorizing, and it's not just, it's very important.
Yeah.
but It is
Sure.
simply that you are giving authority to the selectmen to spend this, up to this amount of money to do this thing,
Okay.
which is negotiate the terms of a sale of that property and tell you about it and then complete that sale.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this, because Mr. Freeze was part of the Waterville company, do you think there's a conflict
yeah.
of interest?
We were
Yes,
wondering
we
that
do.
too.
We
No,
feel
there's-
that.
There's no pecuniary benefit, there's no money benefit to him. There's no conflict of interest in that way if he's not gonna benefit in any way.
That's true.
From this purchase.
Mhm.
If the, certainly if somebody in town feels that he has
I'm sure.
an issue, then
Yeah.
bring it to his attention at a selectmen's
Mhm.
meeting
Yeah.
and tell
Okay.
him that you're not comfortable with him voting on it.
Yeah.
And then it's up to him
Right.
whether or not he has. a
Recuse
conflict.
himself.
Right. Okay, where do we stand on our statement? Are you comfortable reading a statement? Do you want to continue with that or not?
Do you want to revise?
So, we could, but, one last point of discussion for all of us to feel comfortable is, do we as a board think that, it is realistic to recommend, to simply wait a year until more things are done? Are we comfortable if, in fact, the town decides not to approve this? Do we think that it's fine, we'll wait a year? I mean, it's been suggested that there's really no rush. And certainly there are economic factors that make us suspect that. But are we comfortable passing up this chance this week to approve going ahead with the sale or not? I'm a little bit, I've gone back and forth on this a lot.
I too.
Okay,
I think we
because
all
I
have,
keep
yeah,
wondering.
yeah.
Who in the community is going to come up with that kind of money, with best interest for the town in mind? If not, what outside interests,
Mm.
outside investment interests beyond Waterville might want to come up with $250,000. If the various uses that John has listed are not really lucrative enough to justify on a profit basis spending that kind of money. So I think it's not too likely that outside interests will come in and buy that land right away, because it's not a terribly profitable looking venture. But there could be interest within the valley, either of many kinds, that might grab up 13.5 acres if it's available. I don't know. But I'm not all that certain that the town would have an opportunity to reconsider buying this a year from now.
That's true. And I
Right.
think that allowing us to go ahead and say, approve that this town proceeds with conditions doesn't give David or the town, no one has purchased that property yet.
Right.
It doesn't mean it's going to be purchased. It just means that we're allowing them to, with the stipulations that we want for them to purchase this land.
Right.
So even though, Charles, it goes ahead, we're still tying up that land, so nobody
Right.
can,
Nobody else can get it.
nobody can get it unless we make the
Yeah.
So
decisions.
how do we,
So no
how
tabling,
can we, to his awesome
yes,
statement?
right.
That's up to Charles.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Charles, why don't you read it? Why don't we let him read it and then we
Okay.
can
I've got it here too.
go. from there.
Okay, I will read it, and we probably do need to revise it in some way, which I have not seriously thought about. But we should think about it because
Okay.
this is the time to think about it.
Mhm.
Okay, what I drafted, a week, 10 days ago is the following. Okay, I have been asked to speak on behalf of the Waterville Valley Conservation Commission regarding warrant Article 7. On March 6th, the commission held a special meeting in Town Hall and deliberated at length on this subject. We considered input from the seller, comments by representatives of the rec department and select board, and feedback some of us have received from the community. We studied the town's zoning restrictions for land designated as a recreational district. And we considered environmental characteristics of the lot and its proximity to the river and to wells that contribute to the town's water supply. Within the commission and surely within the community at large, there is a wide variety of ideas on how this lot might best be used for recreational purposes and or protected and conserved as is. Future deliberations on how best to use these 13 acres will depend on whether or not the town votes today to authorize the purchase of the lot. If some entity other than the town buys the lot, then the planning board will have no choice but to approve any development proposals that are acceptable within existing zoning guidelines. A vote to authorize Article 7 preserves the town's options to decide in the future how best to use this land.
Can you stop a second and go back to the authorize the purchase of?
Yeah, we probably.
We
We're
need
not-
to,
we're not
we're not
purchasing.
purchasing, so.
So I was gonna suggest that we
Well,
make notes and then make your notes and let him
Okay.
finish.
Let's just finish it.
And then we'll go back and discuss it.
Right.
We need to. Then the last paragraph, for those not familiar with lot 23, it extends between West Branch Road on the north to the Tecumseh condos on the south, between High Country condos on one side and the river on the other. It is traversed by the much-used Mike Stream cross-country hiking and biking trail, and a second path that winds along the riverbank for nearly the entire length of the lot. This second path passes some truly magnificent white pines and crosses a rare wide stretch of sandy beach by the river. Most of the lot is on an old alluvial terrace, much of it still wooded. This is perhaps the last sizable tract of undeveloped land that the town will ever be able to purchase. At about $17,500 per acre, we consider this a very reasonable price by the seller and one that will not likely be seen again in the foreseeable future.
Okay,
We consider this a one-time opportunity that the town should not pass up.
okay,
That's what I said. There are a lot of things we might want to edit.
yep.
Right.
Go.
Well, your lovely wife spoke up about the first one.
would.
She would. But I also have the statement about 17,500 per acre. That last should be struck.
That makes
Shouldn't
it
be.
sound like
We are already in
already in-
negotiation, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't put that in
Okay.
there. The town is considering it. It's in negotiation. That's the word that should be used.
Yeah,
Not purchase, negotiation.
Okay, so
I think the price is a little high. I've been buying up land in Campton on Campton Bog. It's beautiful. It's pristine. I'm familiar with the Conservation Commission there too. And I've been paying a zero less than that of $1,400 an acre.
Well, that's Campton.
it's Hampton, yeah.
That's Campton.
Oh, it's all right. It's beautiful.
yeah,
Well, so it says, but I wouldn't put anything to do with the sale of it.
Purchasing.
You are in negotiation.
Well, but
Let's-
be careful though, because the warrant article does
Say purchase.
authorize the selectmen to purchase the land without coming back to town meeting.
mhm,
They
Okay.
still have to go through a process. But they have, under this article, they can complete the sale, the purchase.
So
steps
It
towards.
is,
if you put negotiation with blah, 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 between
Yeah.
the seller and the buyer and the seller, And for the purchase, I mean, be a little more specific on that.
Authorize
tell-
the steps towards the purchase.
Yeah, maybe that
Well,
That would
no,
be good.
you are authorizing the
purchase.
Mhm, okay.
What you are authorizing the purchase with this warrant article. There does not have to be another warrant article
Mhm.
next year.
Cindy, are you more comfortable if that sentence, if I just eliminate at about 17.5?
Yeah, I would.
Just drop that
I
and then
would.
start, we consider
yeah.
this a very reasonable
One-time
price.
opportunity,
Yeah.
leave it like that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't mention
Okay.
anything, yeah,
Yeah.
agreed,
Okay.
sure.
I was just doing the math. We
Okay,
don't have
that's
to
fine.
do that.
And I guess maybe we have to leave that authorize the purchase in then, if,
Yeah.
because we are authorizing,
Right, because
It
you are
Won't the
saying,
funds,
if you
Authorize
reach an
funds.
agreement. And if you are ready to purchase the land, the only thing you can offer is up to this amount of money. You can offer less, but you can't offer
yeah,
more.
from.
authorize the funds for the law? No.
Yeah, and really, it's a funding authorization that you are giving.
But again, like John said, the clarification has got to become, when the warrant article is read, it's got to be a lot more specific about what it's allowing. It's allowing
Yeah.
to go forward with the purchase, however,
Mhm.
There's a lot of steps.
there's a lot
Yeah.
of stuff
Yeah.
that goes
Yeah.
on in
So-
between.
Right.
So,
And the town needs to hear
You
that.
could say
So-
authorize the steps, the funding.
so
Yeah.
I think the place to do
what,
this
Charles?
is in the middle paragraph.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's a sentence that says,
It's,
future deliberations on how best to use these 13 acres will depend on whether
Yeah.
or not the town
yeah, it
votes
is right
today
here.
to authorize the select board to negotiate the purchase.
Yeah,
That would be better.
okay.
That'd be good.
The terms.
You'll send us a new copy, Charles?
Negotiate the terms.
Authorize
Okay.
to negotiate the terms.
I'm sorry,
Authorize the select board to
authorize the select
negotiate
board.
the-
Negotiate the terms of the purchase.
The terms,
the
can we
terms.
put in conditions?
Well, the terms and.
The terms are conditions.
Yeah, I would put conditions.
Sorry.
So a lot of positive things in that statement. I like it, but are you going to mention that it was a former landfill?
Yes.
Well,
No.
People know that.
I don't have,
People know
No.
it.
We don't need to,
well, do we?
No.
Maybe we should say,
You gotta tell the good and the bad. I want to know, as a resident, what we're getting into.
yeah. Authorize.
I'd like to bring up the sewer system.
Procedurally, can the Conservation Commission require soil testing? As part, do you have the authority to only recommend it if the selectmen require soil testing?
I don't
I
Do you
know.
have-
We don't We don't have
They
that.
don't,
power.
on the authorization there. I would just, I think, I'd love to see something about soil testing in there. If you're not gonna do it, that's fine. But I think as a resident, I'd want the right to know. I
Yeah.
don't want it hidden that it was a landfill.
Yeah,
We would
when I
like
wrote
to,
this, we
yeah,
didn't really,
right,
know
we didn't
about
have
it.
that information.
and maybe.
Another
we should-
great positive is it's the confluence of the West Branch and the proper Mad River.
I agree.
Mhm.
So where would you stick that in?
Where?
We have.
Oh, I don't think we need to put that in here. I mean,
I don't, yeah, I don't know if we should put that in there.
Put something about soil testing?
Well. I mean, we could go on and on and on and on, but. The soil,
When would we?
that comment should
What?
come when the select board is deliberating.
Okay,
First
Okay.
and
So wait a
foremost,
minute,
here-
so
okay.
when we. Years ago, when the high country was in here
Mhm.
about. Building or not building those cottages.
Yeah.
This room was filled with voters. That was the time to discuss it with the select board. And the select board here is not for them to be the almighty, it's for them to be the voice of the town,
Oh,
Mhm.
such as we are.
Yes, exactly.
right.
So that was the time that the
Mhm.
select board would change their mind, or the planning board, actually, it came in front of the planning board. So we had no choice but to go forward with what's there now.
Mhm.
It's not,
Well, my question or my statement is that if we're asking for testing and people in town don't know, why are you testing?
Mm.
So is the question,
Oh.
do you tell them it's?
The
a
next-
land-
Speak 510.
Oh,
I think that opens.
I
it up
think,
to
I think
other-
the select board, that should be the select
Yeah.
board's comment when they're saying we support this.
knowing
Knowing that
we need.
we need to do
Soil
soil
testing.
testing.
Because,
I mean,
Of the question.
either that or we're gonna put it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we,
We put it here or at the select board?
Yeah.
Would
I
you,
mean,
would you put it here?
It belongs in the first paragraph.
Okay,
it
If
does.
we're going to say something about it.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, has it ever, Mark, has it ever been said that it was? Was it announced that it was a landfill other than the scuttlebutt that's going around?
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, it's on the disclosure form that when I went to buy it, so and I sent that to Steve Royer. A copy of the disclosure form that it was a landfill.
yeah, towards the
Oh,
last
we
sentence
got
of the
some-
first paragraph.
Yeah,
A sheet from, that was from the people that were here at the meeting last week.
I wasn't.
A sheet
Yeah.
that, mentioned there was a landfill. Nope.
No, yeah, no, I don't have it.
Oh,
Yeah, I think, please don't hide that from the residents.
no hiding.
All right, I'm gonna drop off now. Thank you very
Okay.
much for listening to me. You guys are doing a great job. I really want us to buy the property, but I want everything to be transparent.
Exactly. Thank you for your input.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
All right, so,
She's staying, by the way.
okay.
So
We studied the town zoning restrictions.
we have to decide whether or not this statement should have something about landfill.
Right. We're looking at the first paragraph towards the
Yeah,
end, yes.
We studied the town zoning
Yes, yes.
restrictions for land designated recreational. We considered environmental characteristics of the lot
Yes,
and its proximity to the Mad River and blah, blah,
yes,
blah.
and 2 wells, right.
Do we want?
Yes, something there.
Environmental characteristics, yeah.
do we
Okay,
want
new
to-
sentence.
In parens,
Well, what about just putting in, including the fact that
Mhm.
it appears to have been some sort of
landfill.
slash
Yeah.
landfill in the
Topic.
past.
New sentence, because it's too
Forward.
long otherwise. Just,
Or, something along those lines.
And should we be specific about the dates that it was?
We are
years and
aware.
Years ago.
no, we don't.
We don't really know, I don't think, yeah.
All right.
Mark, did we know if that was a burn dump? I'm using
No.
the phrase.
Nobody
burn
knew.
dump.
No.
Anything.
Okay,
Don't know anything
How about
about
we are
That's-
aware,
part of the problem.
and do you know how many years that was?
No,
we are aware of the potential hazards.
No,
Con-
that's a bad.
No, that's
No.
not a good word.
Okay, never mind. Erase that.
We don't know if.
We don't know if they're,
You don't
No,
really-
we don't know.
We are aware,
that's part of the problem.
we are aware that there was a
All
dump.
right, let me concentrate.
Yeah, go take it over,
Might
go
have
ahead
been
and go
some
this.
sort Of landfill or dump. Other than what is written there,
Mhm.
there is no
No.
description
Yeah.
of what that means.
Okay.
And that's part of the problem is that. Yes, there was something there.
Yeah.
It is listed on the DES website that it was landfill. They called them dumps back then. They didn't
Yeah.
call them
Yeah.
landfills.
Landfill.
Why don't we just say?
We are aware of a possible dump.
Dump slash landfill.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
I
that,
don't-
that's
Yeah.
what they were back then.
That's what they
Yeah.
were,
Yeah,
Let's stick with that.
yeah, we are
because
aware
I
of
don't
a,
want to give the impression that this was 2008.
right.
Well, that's
Right.
what I'm saying,
Yeah.
Right.
It was not a land
right?
in the sense that
See
we
how
think
Charles
of
wants to say it.
Bethlehem today.
Okay, exactly.
That was not what was happening there. Terry and Paul are absolutely correct. People took
Yep.
You know, an
Yeah.
old metal garbage can and threw
Yeah.
their.
I remember that. That was Maine.
Yeah, Maine,
Probably they went out there
yeah,
and shot rats and
Yeah.
whatever else
Yeah.
vermin were hanging around. Who
You know, I
knows?
doubt there'd
You
be
know,
any,
I mean,
if
who knows? what
there's
was
nobody
going
on, if there was a 21E situation, it would be here.
And it,
You know,
we took
from the
care
gas
of
station,
that.
yeah, I know,
We took
but
care
that's
of
what I'm
that.
saying.
We took care of the incinerator.
Yeah,
We have,
Restore.
DES has issued permit after
Soil test.
permit.
okay,
It is part of our wellhead protection area
Mhm.
for both well 1 and well 3.
mhm,
These are things.
I know.
That
That's
we have
important.
had multiple interactions with DES.
and I think that needs
For
to be
decades.
stated.
three, right there, just add 3
Yeah,
wells
and
right
if
there.
they've not made any, I mean,
Got
Okay,
the- you
what
got
I
it?
have so far.
Yes. And
No,
yeah,
no change.
To add on,
Yeah.
after first paragraph,
Yeah.
town's water supply period. We
Yes.
are aware that part of this lot was
Yes.
used as a
As a-
dump in the past.
In past,
in the past,
in the
and
past, no,
in the past,
In the
they
past.
want to ask when, we can
And-
say,
yeah,
we
and-
don't know, it was during
and-
Cochran's
right.
time.
Say is in the past, and then
Yes.
we could,
and would
Cut-
press,
and
and would
we
press.
don't,
yeah,
and we don't,
Yeah.
what, and we recommend this to be
Yeah.
considered in negotiations. I don't know. what
And
the-
would press for soil testing at a later date.
I'm not,
No.
I don't know if
I'm
we
not
should.
convinced that that's.
No.
not gonna-
Okay.
No, I think we're digging a well
I-
for ourselves.
yeah.
No, that's for soil testing
We're digging a hole.
is again,
Yeah.
just to try to offer some legal protection.
Right.
It's not gonna really-
All right.
As you said,
Yeah.
maybe somebody will come in and bulldoze a little space to put foundations in for
Golf
a
clubhouse.
bowling alley. I don't know.
Yeah, bowling.
And when
Swimming
they
pool.
do that, maybe they'll rip into something.
Mhm,
But the soil testing wouldn't have told you that
Right.
unless you happen to put a
Right.
pit right there.
right,
Because
Correct.
this stuff isn't
Okay.
evenly
Okay.
smoothed across the
Correct.
area.
all right,
The only way, and I like Mark's comment, I don't think he was thinking along my lines. The only way you'd have a fair probability of assuring the conditions of the soil is if you actually gridded this out and then did
Oh,
a
yeah.
stratified random sample.
right,
That would statistically give you evidence. that the probability at 95% is that the soil is okay.
yeah.
Charles,
We're not
As
gonna
in
do that.
archaeology.
you know what
yeah.
I thought of, and I don't know how expensive it is. You know those portable radar machines?
Yeah,
I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
being serious,
Right.
guys. You know, walk the
Yeah,
land,
that's greater, but, yeah.
whatever, it's
Yeah.
sonar,
LiDAR.
And
Okay.
what would these,
that I don't
how
understand.
do those even give us any clue of
No.
anything?
Is this,
Interesting.
is this,
And this is the one he was sent,
Yeah. And he
that's
said,
it.
and he said, I think he said, if you wanted more details, you have to ask for it. Because
And
this
this
one
was
is
1970
copyrighted material.
1972?
Uh,
The same photo? Is that what? wasn't that what it
Oh,
said?
is that what he said?
Data
Yeah.
there.
Plus or minus.
Could this be reference to the landfill right here?
No,
No, it's,
No.
it's the third.
Okay,
as long as
Hmm.
it is voiced.
mhm,
that
yes,
During
That's it.
negotiation.
Right.
With David Britton.
right.
The possibility or
This could.
not possibility,
Mm.
the soil should be tested to appease everybody,
Right, that's.
okay? And if he could delete some of the money that would go to him,
Mhm, yeah,
David,
yes,
so it wouldn't incur cost to the town,
Right.
and he would, it
Yeah.
sounds like he wants to get rid of this thing ASAP. And if we don't get it, then I think somebody else is gonna
Somebody
come in
will.
and do it,
Yeah.
and who knows what they're gonna
that's
disturb.
right.
And who
I know.
knows
We're back. and
whether
forth
they'd
on
get
this, yeah.
it tested,
Right,
and who knows if it'd leach into the
Okay, so to try
Okay,
to
we're
move this
still being-
along.
Yes.
Do we want to add anything further to
Yeah.
my sentence?
Please.
We are aware
Yeah.
that part of this lot
yeah,
was used as a dump in the past,
Mhm.
yes,
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 and then period.
yes,
yes.
yes.
yes,
Then I'll add
We
that.
don't wanna go into it too heavily.
And then if somebody from our once this is read, are people are allowed to stand up and
Exactly.
comment?
Yes.
This I would just be one of perhaps
Yeah.
many people
Right.
speaking
Yeah,
that's right.
for or against
Okay.
this.
Right, and
Yeah.
one tiny addition,
Okay.
that last sentence that you had, Mad River and to wells, add 3 wells. I think Mark mentioned.
Yeah, 3 wells.
wells, not just
I
wells.
think there's 2, one.
Is it
well,
2?
one and
Just-
three.
Just right. Oh,
One and
number
three.
1 and
One
3,
and three.
okay,
2 wells.
Who else?
2 wells, all right.
One was on the property and one was off, wasn't it?
One was on the property, one is across the
Yeah.
river.
Across the
street.
river,
Yeah.
yep, 2 wells, that's good. All right, I
Hmm.
think we're good.
And one of those wells
Yeah,
is no longer in service.
Oh, geez.
Whether or not the town votes. Okay, I think we got it.
Charles, will you send us a revision? Becca said she'd force you
I'll
to.
make sure.
Yeah, she's got the whip.
It's actually 13.5 acres.
His whip
Yeah,
it is,
yeah.
it is.
mine.
What's that?
His
13,
whip is worse than mine.
Oh,
Stays up
okay,
hours figuring these.
All right.
things out.
Mark, how do you feel about it? Okay.
he's dizzy.
Whatever you guys want.
Right.
whatever the
You know what?
wants to
It's
do.
gonna be mentioned anyway.
We can
Yeah,
deal with it
Yeah.
and, you know, if the town doesn't wanna do this, then don't do it.
yeah,
Yeah.
And we'll take our chances.
okay,
My biggest thing was, I think the selectmen have done what they should in that they brought it to everyone's attention,
mhm,
that it's for sale.
mhm.
Yep.
I don't know if David will sit on it for another year.
Right.
Or if he will
Right,
actively go out there and try to sell it.
right,
All we want everyone to know is if he sells it to someone else.
Yep.
We're going to have less options than
Right.
the
Yeah.
town owns.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's the bottom
The
line.
We
whole
get it.
liability thing. You know as well as I do that it will be a legal battle
Oh, yeah.
mhm.
in whoever owns it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Everybody's gonna be pointing fingers everywhere.
Oh.
We're gonna be participating in
Yeah.
that. as The town,
Yep.
like,
I'm gonna,
you know, I don't know what there's nothing definitive in the records. It's all
Right.
very muddy.
right,
And that's why we didn't buy it the first
Yeah.
time, was because we were just unsure, but as we see more and more. And have discussions like this and
Mhm.
mhm,
it got to the point where the board was comfortable enough that the liability, whatever that is gonna be there whether we.
Whether,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
That was
Okay.
what was unclear 3 years ago. What
Mhm.
is our liability? Are we taking on more? And so this has been an evolutionary process.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so we know more than we knew before. And,
Mhm.
you know, you weigh the risks and the potential benefits. And so the board thought that they should bring it to the town to see whether or not you wanted to buy it.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to hide the fact that it was a landfill. I think everybody knows that it was a landfill.
The town knows by
You
now,
know, and we'll say it again.
Yeah.
On Wednesday.
Okay.
So,
but at least allowing, it sounds like David wants to get rid of this ASAP. But,
well, they don't live here anymore.
no, I know
So
that,
his circumstance has changed.
sure,
So.
Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe he'll put it on fire sale, maybe he'll sell it for $20,000, I don't
Yeah.
know.
yeah, but I'm saying
I mean,
if
things like
he's
that.
in agreement that the select people and he go forward, even if we don't finalize it, we've tied it up for that much
Yes.
longer.
It's not tied up until we have a signed.
I know.
P&S.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
And I
okay,
don't think we're gonna get a signed contingent P&S
Mm.
unless we have these questions
Yep.
answered.
okay,
Agreed.
Somebody else
All
can come in tomorrow and make him an offer that
Yes.
he can't refuse.
That's right.
And he may sell it and
Right.
walk away.
okay.
Mhm.
Write this down.
Yeah.
Mark, can you tell me again we know it's a floodplain. We know there's 250 feet of,
Shoreline protection,
can you go through that one more time? There was 50 feet of high water.
So from the normal high water mark of the river, which is a normal day, not a flood,
Right,
Right.
okay? from that river edge, wherever that is, back 50 feet, you can't disturb it.
Right.
Undisturbed. Okay.
Yep,
The next 100 feet, there is a restriction on the number and the size of the trees that you can cut down. And then a further 100 feet, there's another set of restrictions that are less restrictive than the first 100 feet.
Mhm.
of cutting trees,
Of cutting trees, clearing,
clearing,
Yeah.
that kind of.
understood. Okay,
My understanding is the third area, the second 100 feet. There's some limited building that can occur in there, but I don't know the specifics.
okay,
Of
All right.
what that is,
Can
but
I-
there's no
How
building
much
in
of
that
that was
first
paid attention
100
to when
feet.
they-
It's a restriction on what you.
all right,
If there is a picture
Yes,
on the DES website under shoreline protection.
I have it.
There's an FAQ. And it lays out those 3 zones.
oh, okay.
How close to the water was the old dump?
Oh,
Was
yeah.
anybody, we don't know.
Don't even know where it was,
Okay.
so we can, I
Okay.
guess.
But this
Okay.
air photo doesn't help at all.
No,
No,
Identifying
not
where
at
the
all.
dump was.
didn't understand why he thought that was so important.
Again, I appreciate, that he found that, but that
It's
doesn't.
not gonna
Yeah.
tell us anything.
But
Right.
again, if DES said capital landfill, my
Yeah.
first reaction to
You
that
know-
would be, where? Why?
Yeah, right.
I know,
What do you want us to do?
It wasn't an
Up
actor, it was a
here,
dump.
It was very clear when the
Yeah.
incinerator site was there. right?
Yes.
So you had a building
yeah,
and
Mhm.
clean this up.
yeah,
Okay, fine. You've
Yep.
got a defined area, there's a foundation and. You go out another 50 feet or whatever around it and you clean it up. That's very identifiable and we did that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But this, what are you gonna do? Have us do all 13
It's
acres?
too nebulous.
Well, I'm just
Yeah.
been stopping at 13 acres. Why don't you clean 20 acres?
Got it.
Where do you stop?
No.
There's a lot of questions that this.
I mean, they might have disrupted it when they started building High Country. Who knows? Because it drops down in through there.
Okay.
You don't know. Anyway,
I find it interesting that lawyers, I mean, these
Yes.
aren't the same people that came last week, are they? Who had the purchase, they were gonna buy
Yeah,
the
that was them.
property, or is that was the
Voluntary,
same?
yeah.
Yeah, these.
That
Yeah.
lawyers are telling them, oh, you don't wanna go
Yeah.
into that, there was a dump there, but no one's come up with any specifics,
Right.
right?
not unless you test the soil
Right. Again,
or disturb
And
the
even
soil.
then, the
she said.
the soil
mean,
is
what
not gonna
it's
give you an indication of
Yeah,
where anything is
That's
unless you hit directly on something.
yeah,
So are you?
Done.
finished with the
Yes.
meeting?
Yes.
You've got
Yes,
the
we should.
language The way that you want it?
are you satisfied? You gonna look at it again?
I'm entirely satisfied.
Okay,
Good,
so
Charles.
do you
So-
have a motion? Did you do a motion?
Can we have a motion to?
I make a motion to adjourn.
No.
No,
No.
Jack,
No,
Oh,
you make a motion to,
we
Approve.
make a motion to modify the
the summary.
summary
of
that's going to be read at town meeting.
I wouldn't even modify because we never approved this before. We just delegated me
Oh,
to
that's
write
true.
something.
Okay.
That's true.
So
All
maybe
right.
you could make a motion to approve the statement.
The statement that's to be read at town meeting in regards to Article 7
Yes.
to approve it.
to approve.
Yes.
I second.
Second.
Oh, good, thank you.
Are we in
Take a
favor?
Motion and a second.
Any discussion?
Any discussion? I think we
Everybody
discussed it.
vote,
Yes, I think we
everybody approve.
all in favor.
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed,
Any opposed?
I think we might have one.
She's
Jenny,
She's not on, I'm on.
not here. She's been seated. Yeah. She's been seated.
These are the only people that.
That's right.
Okay,
She knows.
Okay.
She knows.
got it.
Okay, then.
Motion to,
Motion to adjourn. Do we have one?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I
So
second.
moved.
Everybody seconded it.
Everybody seconds it.
All in favor? Thank you very much for